Broussard, do you think the Nets need another epic game from KD tonight?
Yeah, Wiles. I mean, KD's mindset should be, I want to earn another hug like that from Steve Nash. That's what he's got to be telling himself going into this game. But no, yeah, he has to deliver. He has to deliver. And that's the thing about epic performances when they're not in series-clinching games. Okay, if it's not a Game 7 or a Game 6 that ends the series or whatever, then you have to follow up. When LeBron played what many believe was his best game ever, 45, 15, and 5 in Boston in 2012 to even the series at 3 games apiece, guess what? He had to go back to Miami and deliver in Game 7 or it was all for naught. And he did with 31, 12, and 10. So KD does have to go crazy again. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be 49, 17, and 10, but it's going to have to be probably well over 30, probably in the 35-ish range, if not more, because you know a few things. You know that Milwaukee is going to play much better at home. You can talk about, they got to be demoralized after not capitalizing with a James Harden playing at 15% and no Kyrie Irving and so on and so forth. But no, they weren't demoralized after trailing by 49 in Game 2. So they went home and looked like a different team. You can count on that. You also know you can't pencil in Jeff Green for 27 and Blake Griffin for 17. Right. Now, if they give it to you, praise the Lord. But you certainly can't count on that before the game. Then you don't know what you're going to get from James Harden. I assume, I think it's safe to say he'll be better than 1 for 10 and 5 points. But he may very well struggle again and not be able to put many points on the board. So, yes, Kevin Durant has to go crazy again. The saving grace is there's a Game 7 in Brooklyn if he doesn't. But they want to close this thing out early.
Yeah, I agree with you when it comes to the, Kevin Durant. He has to go crazy. Where I disagree with you, you're talking about 35-ish. I think it has to be some of the same. It has to be 40, 45 points. Fair. He has to dominate. Because of everything you said, James Harden, hopefully he'll be better. I don't think he's going to be able to dribble, penetrate, and do damage there, but his shot should be able to fall. He still could stay out there on the perimeter and create some separation and knock down these shots. He didn't knock down these shots last game. He only had 5 points. Everybody knows that. I'm going to try to be positive here because this is my team. Joe Harris missed 19 of his last 23 attempts from 3. Joe, come on, Joe. Last game, I was tweeting, and it was like the first 5 minutes, it was like, Joe, you come on, baby. You got to do better. We need you. If Joe Harris can go back to what he did with the Celtics, he dropped 25 points, went 7 for 8, then we have a chance. And then you got, Uncle Green, Jeff Green, you just talked about him. Nick, you brought him up a couple days ago where you're like, the last time we saw a performance like this was when he was with LeBron in Cleveland when Kevin Love went down. Well, let's go, Jeff. Let's do it again. Let's go back to back. If you do that, then you have a chance, and you also have a chance in the next series too. And you may not have to count on Kyrie being 100% and James Harden being 100%. So we need to see KD step up big time again.
Yeah, I don't think the Nets can beat the Bucks without Durant having a monster game. To Brandon and Broussard's point, he only, though, has to do it one of the next 2. It doesn't have to be tonight. It can be in Game 7. I want to, though, focus on a guy who is yet to have a monster game. Because something very interesting has happened in these playoffs. Every single one of our healthy superstars that made the playoffs has had a moment. Dame had his 55-point game. Pick the Luka game you want. KD that we were just talking about. Kawhi's Game 6 against against Luka. Paul George last night. The Joker had a few in the first round, and then the 30, 20, and 10 even in a loss last round. Chris Paul, the closeout game for the Suns. Embiid, coming back from the loss to the Hawks, a brilliant game too against the Hawks. Even our soon-to-be superstars have had them. Devin Booker's had it. Donovan's had a couple. Trae Young's had it multiple. Hell, Jason Tatum had a 50-piece in the one Celtics victory. Every single healthy star or superstar has had one game at least where they said, I got this. Except for Giannis. And Giannis hasn't had one of those in his whole career in the playoffs. What is Giannis' signature playoff moment? You can think about it. You're not going to come up with one. Maybe like he had a great game 3 against the Kyrie Celtics when that Celtics team was falling apart in 2019. He had a couple monster performances in round 1 against Detroit or Orlando. He hasn't had it. And Wilds, this is the world Giannis now lives. Game 5 was the biggest game of his career. Well, guess what? Tonight, biggest game of his career. And if they win, it's Game 7, biggest game of his career. I'd like to see him crush it. I root for Giannis. I like Giannis. I know what the limitations are. I also know that we look at him as, at worst, one of the 10 best players. I know you don't, Brandon. At worst, one of the 10 best players in basketball. At best, he's putting the crown on as the best player in basketball. Let's call him the 7th best player in basketball. Well, guys 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 have all had games this postseason where it's like, holy crap, you won that game for your team. Giannis, you're at home. Your season's on the brink. You just blew a 17-point lead. You literally fumbled the game away at the end. I need you to have a big night. I need you to have a great night and get it back to 7 and see what happens in Brooklyn. That's what I'm looking for this evening.
So that's a great, and I'll one-up you. After the game, he said he wanted the challenge of guarding KD. So I don't think, Broussard, that he needs to guard him the whole game. But I do think if you came out right out of the gate and you were on KD and you started disrupting his rhythm and make other people kind of get some buckets. Now, granted, that could backfire if Joe Ingles all of a sudden gets hot or if Harden gets hot. But I think it would be such a sort of mental hurdle to get over where it's like, I've got you. It's my game. This is my house. I'm the 2-time MVP. I'm the former Defensive Player of the Year. I can take this challenge on. So I want to ask you about Harden specifically, though. James Harden played a ton of minutes. Do you think he's going to be exhausted and inefficient? Or even though he wasn't nearly himself, he's missing shots, he was still getting shots. It wasn't like he couldn't get a shot. He was just missing them. Those are going to go down. It's not like we've seen performances of guys that are hurt that can just be spot-up shooters and hit. So do you think, I'm going to say, I'll pull it out of thin air. Over, under, I'll say 18 points for James Harden tonight.
Wow. I think I'm going to say under slightly. But if he gives you 16 and 11 assists, and a great floor game
That's
like
good.
he did in game 1 for the most, or the previous game for the most part, then I'll take that. The jump shot, the problem are his legs there. I mean, that's the thing. Those jumpers, you could see them, they were short. And that speaks to, the legs are obviously a part of the jump shot. So he could handle, he could shake and get room, but he clearly didn't want to drive. And he settled for the three-point shot, but he was a little short on it. I do think he'll play better, Wilds. I think he's capable of going for more than 20, and he might surprise all of us. But I'd say something like 16 and 10 would be a great night for James Harden. And I agree with both you guys on Giannis. But, Nick, this is why a lot of people around the league are beginning to think he's a second guy. Because even as you just said, he hadn't had this signature moment. Guess what? 4 of the 5 games in this series, he's gone for more than 30 points and 11 rebounds in every game, I believe, at least. So you can pencil him in. He's going to have 30-something tonight. Okay, he's going to have 11 to 15 rebounds, if not more. But you are also right. It's not a monster performance. That's just what he does. And the problem is you can't shoot and you're not a great post player. I need you to be one or the other. In today's game, we love you to be able to shoot the jumper, but if you can't, then you better be able to punish people on the block, especially ones with a sore hamstring and half a foot shorter than you. So that's the problem with Giannis, why he hasn't had this signature performance.